And we are live. All right. So being recorded. And this is the first, what's the name? I even forgot the name. Codex
Codex
Virilis.
Virilis.
Codex Virilis. Meaning what?
Codex Virilis, simply put, it's a sacred book for men. Sacred men's book, I guess you could say.
Okay. I mean, that's like the translation.
Yes.
We're not actually discussing a sacred book.
No. Let's just sit here and talk about the Bible the whole time. I'm down if y'all are.
Good point. Good point to bring up though.
So this is.
I think it's funny you say it's not sacred, but I've got a feeling it's going to hint towards some type of like. You guys hear like an echo? I swear I hear an echo. I think it's going to hint towards like virtuism. I just got a feeling. I don't know. I haven't read too deep into it, but like I'm just getting that feeling. I'm intrigued by it because I kind of feel like I know where it's going, but at the same time, it might not go where I think it's going. So like, it's keeping me interested. I want to see where it goes from here.
Yeah. Funny you say that. When I was listening to it, reading it, I tried to challenge some of the thoughts and stuff, and a lot of it was going back to my faith. But we can get into all that as we get into the discussion.
Are we still talking about the psychology of money here?
We are.
Okay. Because you guys are getting like really deep into this with the psychology.
I read Confessions by St. Augustine. What did y'all read?
Were you able to read the first two chapters?
Yes. Everybody read them, I believe. They were actually really short chapters. Did anybody have any issues reading them?
Well, I would always read them at night right before going to bed, so I'd nod off. That was like my biggest issue.
Dreaming about bad money decisions? No.
Yeah.
But better behaviors. No, I really just listened to the audiobook about 3 times. I got at least the first chapter 3 times, but the second chapter, I don't think I got the third one in because I got distracted. But I did take some notes and stuff and like, counterpoints I might have or just elaborations as we kind of go through in like the chronological order from chapter 1 to 2, of course.
I like it.
So you both did audiobook. I'm the
Yes.
only one who used my eyes.
I read the first chapter, and then when I went on my run, I thought that it was the next day. And so I was like, geez, man, like I got to read this like now. So I found an audiobook real quick. And then as I was running, I listened to the first 2 chapters like freaking 4 times. Then I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm going to go ahead.
Like Forrest Gump, really. That was running, getting the touchdown for Jenny. No, I'm just kidding. So, yeah, no, I love audiobooks, honestly. It's a good way to squeeze it. But I do think that, you'll get a better. I think the best way to read is listen to the audiobook while you read at the same time.
Yeah, I agree.
But reading takes its own, like it's a muscle, right? So I do read, but I do see myself fitting more audio stuff in my head because it's just more convenient. You could do it on the run. So that's kind of why I know it, because I've been so busy.
Yeah, I would actually recommend for people who aren't comfortable reading or who get tired quickly or forget what they're reading, fairly shortly into their reading. Like you said, Sean, read it while you're listening to the audiobook. That way it's almost like doing push-ups on your knees, right? Like you're doing the push-up, but it's not the full weight.
Yeah, you got your Teddy Ruxpin reading along with you. But the another thing was that well, I actually forgot what I was going to say. But I know it was right on that tangent there. For a second, you can continue.
All right, Nick, do you have any questions in particular? Are we just kind of shotgunning this? How are we doing this?
Well, I'm kind of intrigued what you guys use for audiobook. Did you guys use Audible?
I just remembered what I was going to say, if I may interject.
Yep.
So what I find very useful reading books lately, right, including the Bible, what I've done is I use AI. Unfortunately, it hallucinates, so it's not always 100% accurate, as you guys may know. But like if I'm done with a chapter of any book, I'll say, okay, AI, quiz me on this book. I want 20 questions. Give me one question at a time. I'm going to answer them. And at the end of the 20 questions, after I've answered each one, I want you to give me a score. And it's kind of fun, as long as it's got the information in its database and it doesn't, get confused, which unfortunately it does still. But it's still like a fun, like, I don't know, learning tool, I think.
Well, that's interesting. Using ChatGPT, I'm assuming here.
Well, actually, I use Grok. But I think, all of them have kind of that capability, I would imagine, that's how I started. It was probably like 6 months ago or something when I kind of started quizzing myself with the AI. And it's gotten better, so there's that. But I don't really mess around with other ones, so I don't know, how they're going to respond to that type of query or whatever you call it.
And that's a good idea. I'll probably start doing the same. I do something similar, but for work-related things. So when I'm trying to study a certain, document or whatever else, I will have it break it down, go section by section. We'll ask questions, and then I answer them, and kind of move forward from there.
Yeah, I'm gonna steal that idea too. Yeah,
No, you're not allowed to.
It's kind of cool, It's I just tried it one day, and I was like, oh my god, this actually worked. At first, like, you have to make sure to ask it, just ask me one at a time, because they'll just. I mean, at first, it might have got smarter since then, but it would just like list all the 20 questions and expect me to answer them after it. I'm like, you're crazy. That guy have to count to 1 million. He said, I don't care how long it takes. Did you see that? I don't want to bring this in and interject, but there was that one where it was on a woman's voice, and she wouldn't count to 1 million, and then he simply changed it to male voice, and he did it the first try.
At least Grok isn't over here talking about robot Hitler and stuff anymore. Justin just joined the call, Mr. Diver.
Welcome, Justin.
You haven't missed anything, Justin. I don't know if you're just listening. I know you got your hands full right now, so by all means, just listen away. There's also a text feature if you wanted to chat. Oh, look at Diver. Oh, you're on mute.
Looking good. Looking good.
Can I unmute you?
Yeah, he's muted.
Now
I just unmuted.
There you
There we
go.
go. Now we can hear you.
Hey, how's everybody doing?
Doing great, man.
Hey, okay.
BSing so far.
Or old
There you go. That might be better.
I like it. So,
right,
no, go ahead, Justin. What's up, man?
No, I was gonna say, what did I miss?
You haven't missed anything. We were just talking about how we read the books or listened to the books, or did a hybrid, and we just kind of recapped that. I was saying I think the best version is to listen to the audiobook while you read the text if you're not super strong with just reading and comprehension of it. And then Sean had a very good point of he uses AI after he reads it to ask him questions one at a time, and then he replies to see how well he understood the material.
That's a genius move.
Didn't have time, but other books, like I was reading like Michelangelo's like biography and stuff like that, like a few weeks ago, and again the Bible, I was doing it on the Bible, just like before I was. I still haven't read the Bible completely. I'll say that as well, but like I'll kind of like see what I know ahead of time. I'll just like ask, quiz me on Genesis or quiz me on, just a random book that I think I might have some knowledge on, and see like, do I really know? But again, as I mentioned, the AI actually sometimes is stupid.
Well, AI is smarter than all of us, unfortunately, and it's only going to get worse.
Yeah.
But one of those things is like reading books. I can't read books. I'm dyslexic, so I just can't comprehend them that way. They have to be read to me, or I have to like read them and reread them. So it's nice to have that audio version. It definitely helps me. And I started that book. What was it? The one you just sent me.
Psychology of Money.
Yes, The Psychology of Money. That's starts out great, but if it weren't being read to me, I wouldn't be able to comprehend.
Yeah. No,
Does it anger you that it sounds like a sleepy teenager? Sorry, Ricardo.
No, you're good. I was just gonna say I find it interesting how we all have our individual ways that we prefer to read, and again, one of the good things about the Order of Pillars is to find men where they're at and help them advance in that area to be the better version, right? To read better, to comprehend better, to exercise better, to be healthier, et cetera, et cetera. If we post this on YouTube, then by all means, like, subscribe, comment down below. If it's in the community, just go ahead and type in, whatever you want commenting wise, if you wanted to join in. I've actually been thinking about it. I don't think you need to necessarily read the books to be a part of the conversation, right? It could still be very beneficial for somebody who might not have actually read the books to get the knowledge from the people who have, and we were just discussing the ideas that are in it.
And sometimes that background knowledge or discussion can actually trigger somebody's interest in the book, and they may want to read it after that.
Yeah.
So that's
exactly.
a good point too.
Yeah,
I agree.
All right. Well, so Nikki, did you want to go ahead if you had questions and stuff? I have questions if you don't, or however you want to handle this one.
Well, assuming we've kind of just read the first 2 chapters, how would you break it down? Like a quick summary for whoever is watching this and hasn't read the book.
So I would say the psychology of money right now is, what the title says, it's pretty straightforward. It's talking more about your thinking about money versus the actual proper steps on how to invest and do all that. It's the first 2 chapters. Chapter 1 is No One's Crazy, which I go ahead and say now that I completely disagree. And chapter 2 is Luck and Risk. So yeah, it's about people's thinking about money and how that plays into their choices and their lives and their outcomes. And chapter 1 actually is very good in showing different people's struggles and their upbringings, so that it shows why they choose what they choose. But if anybody wants to take it from there, anybody has a different take on that so far?
Well, I just elaborate more. I mean, to sum it all up, I think what the book is going to drive into the most, and again, I've only read the first 2 chapters, but it's going to be behavior, right? Psychology, the study of human behavior. It's called the psychology of money. So I think he's going to try to train us and discipline us so that our behavior aligns with success.
Yeah, I would agree.
All right. Now, excuse me for being ignorant. I haven't gotten to chapter 2 yet. I just started it, so I haven't gotten to chapter 2 yet. But what more is covered in chapter 2? Like, what specifically about chapter 2 was different or talked about compared to chapter 1?
It's mainly luck.
If I could put it,
yeah,
I was going to say because I think Bill Gates might have promoted it a little bit. I don't know. We can talk more about
that. he definitely made himself.
It was all luck. It was all luck for Bill Gates, right?
Yeah. Basically, chapter 2 is talking about how luck plays a factor in the opportunities that you have and the outcomes that you have in life. Which again,
the Bill Gates thing. Okay, I got it now.
I agree, but I disagree. When you get to chapter 2, it's actually really interesting. Not to jump ahead, but he brings up how Bill Gates went to a particular school. It was one of the only schools that had a computer at the time, and it was donated by a veteran. And
can I just interject, because it's kind of cooler than that. It was like a rummage sale of all the mothers.
Yeah,
and they got to $3,000, which back then, was probably like 15. I don't know. That's probably more. It's probably, I'm over exaggerating, but $3,000 is a lot of money back then.
Yep.
But then again, I mean, we'll probably talk more about that environment, because that plays into it too, right? He's talking about environment and upbringing, and I think that had maybe just as much of an input with Bill Gates' situation. But we could talk about it, right?
Yeah. But I'd say let's go ahead and start with chapter 1. Does anybody want to start off with a question that they have or insight about chapter 1?
Well, I think I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, I was just going to say about there's a part in chapter 1 that talks about how there's no single right way to handle money. And I want to get your take. You're already shaking your head. Why? Why?
So we've all read chapter 1. My gut reaction when he was talking about the guy that was like, well, I could barely pay rent, but I stopped at the gas station and spent $10 on a lotto ticket. That's not crazy. Like, no, that's 100% crazy and that's stupid.
Yeah, I feel you there.
Yeah, and
I know,
that's
yeah.
kind of the thing is like each person's personality is always going to dictate what they think that dollar in their pocket is worth at any given time compared to their bank account. And some people don't even think about their bank account. And so so if I were to ask a question, where do each one of you think you started out kind of getting into adulthood where you stopped making those funny little mistakes or misinterpretations of what you thought money was or the value of money was at any given time? Do you have a moment where you thought you've become an adult and gotten away from silly spending?
No, I'm still there.
That's honesty.
It's temptation.
Yeah. Well, so as everybody knows, Nick is my brother, so obviously we were raised together. We grew up together. But I'll speak from my point of view about it. Is we grew up constantly struggling. A lot of times didn't have money. Money was never talked about. One particular Christmas, which Nick can tell me if you remember that one, we were given gifts, and they went to a buy here, pay here place, so they could make installments on, like, I had a nice stereo set and there was a bike and like there was all kinds of stuff. And I think like a month in, they had to take our gifts back and return them because they couldn't pay for it. So we definitely grew up struggling. And one of the ideas that I was raised with was the idea of credit being bad, right? Like never get a credit card. They're designed to like ruin you and et cetera, et cetera. But as I got older, I didn't want to be poor. So I continued to study and look in and ask questions and stuff. And I found more about like, well, credit card's a tool like anything else. And if you use it correctly, it's a very powerful tool in order to advance, your chances in life, your luck, as chapter 2 says. So that's kind of my 2 cents on, I guess, where like exact age, I don't know. I actually have always been pretty obsessed with money. Lord forgive me. I remember being at a very young age and remembering like testing myself on which presidents were on what bill and like wanting to save. I even had a good savings at one point, and my dad came to me saying he didn't have enough money for bills and stuff, and he borrowed money from me. I never got that back.
I don't think you will.
I think we've all been through that one. I've definitely gotten money borrowed and then just never showed back up.
Yeah, he died owing me money, so
his life.
Yeah.
But in that situation, well, I think that actually happened more than once, where they had to like return the gifts and everything. I think it happened multiple times.
Yeah.
But tying it back to what chapter 1 said, you don't think it. Granted, I'm not excusing their irresponsibility with money, but it was a different moment. It was a different generation. They had different views on the economy. The economy was different. Maybe they felt they could splurge a little bit more than what we feel we could today. You don't think like the atmosphere, the environment that they lived at that time influenced their poor decisions?
Yeah.
Well, that's debatable in itself because didn't they come from a generation that was already more tight pocketed and had to be, more spending conscious, and they had to, pinch their pennies, and they had to survive because the baby boomers, they didn't have that money. They had to pinch pennies, but going into that next generation, wealth started to become okay. Now you had more money, but I think they still had that mentality. And now that our economy is even worse than it was, we're the ones now starting to rethink about it. But I think they had that sweet spot of just thinking everything was going to be okay. Like, it'll be fine. You know what I mean? But they're on the verge of, they're still coming from their parents. I need to pinch pennies. So they're trying to teach us that. Like, I remember the talk about how many squares of toilet paper you're supposed to use. Like, why would why would you care about how many squares? Oh, we don't want to waste stuff.
The answer is 3, by the way, if you're wondering.
No, it's 4. According to science, it's 4 because otherwise it's nasty.
I
also use wet wipes. My splurging stuff.
You throw them away or flush them?
You throw them away, bro. You can't flush it.
Good. Yeah, you'll ruin your pipes, man.
One poison or the other there, you're like, uh-oh.
Lesser of two evils.
Yeah, but no, I agree what you were saying, Nikki. It was a different time, different mentality. Obviously, each person was raised differently, right? Some people had the parents who had the foresight about how to save, how to invest, right? Trying to get a little bit further ahead. Some of our parents never got any of those conversations, and so they were kind of starting from zero. So they made their own mistakes, as we all do, and the smart move is to learn from our parents' mistakes and try not to repeat them. But again,
it sounds like it was an emotional decision too, right?
Yeah.
Not to right, because they loved you and the intention was good.
Yeah.
And they wanted you to be happy. But that's what he kind of talks about in the chapters here, right? How like emotions can make you stupid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In the book, he talks about, this guy who went and bought a lotto ticket, that it's not crazy because to him, it's that one moment to possibly hit it big, right? He's getting the opportunity, at least the quick satisfaction of, this could be it, right? This could change my life. I could really get ahead and have the room for breathing. But when I was reading that, I automatically thought about instant gratification versus delayed gratification, right? We wanted to buy a lotto ticket. I'm guilty. And you hope that could be the one. But if you put that $10 away, it's a guaranteed $10. And you can keep stacking it. In the future, if I keep this habit up, it will be a guaranteed whatever it is at a certain point. But with the instant gratification of the ticket, you do feel good in the moment, but you also have a quick letdown. Once you scratch that off or you count your numbers and you find out you didn't hit any of it, I don't know about any of you, like it kind of just hits you. You're like, dang it, still poor. So,
and I immediately think of a penny saved is a penny earned. As soon as I've like broken down and bought a scratch off or something like that, or I bought a lotto ticket because it's now $1.2 billion for the Mega Millions, I buy that ticket and then I'm like, knowing, I'll probably not win, but it'd be nice if I did. So I try it, telling myself that old limerick, you can't win if you don't play. So I go into that thinking you can't win if you don't play. But as soon as I don't win, I go, wouldn't the wiser decision have been to save that towards a bigger sum that I can invest and not need to win any money? I can just, make an investment that'll guarantee me money. But that's the hardest decision, is to hold on to every penny you can, because the penny saved is the penny earned. And holding on to every penny when you have so many immediate things that are flashing in front of your face, like the Mega Millions or a scratch off or, anything, even down to helping someone on the street that wants a penny. You know what I mean? If you're driving down the street and someone says, hey, do you have $1? And you got $1 and you give it to him, he's going to blow it, but it made you feel better in the moment. Now, is that more worth the moment that you got, or would it be better to save that towards the future moments in your own life that might be even happier?
He
It's
does
a
address
constant battle.
he mentions how like a custodian, right, who just stays disciplined and slowly, steadily feeds his babies, as in like his investments. You know, the richest man in Babylon's a good book that talks about this. Me and Ricardo talked about it a lot when we were young.
Excellent.
But you know, it's about steadily streaming into those tributaries, letting them slow, and you stay patient. And then if you diversify into multiple tributaries, then you don't have to be scared when like if one thing crashes, right? Or if everything crashes, possibly. So like that's what he's talking about. Like it is more important, I guess, to continually stream and be patient and just feed that small investment, even if it's just a small return. You probably will do better in the long run. And I can say so myself because I squandered savings. I've also been in a decent scenario where you know you can find a vessel that will give you a return, right? And then you can still panic and sell, make money, but not make nearly as much as you could if you just stood still and hold, right? As they say.
Yeah,
They spell it.
yeah, just the penny saved is the penny earned. If make too quick a judgment might actually lose you money in the long run.
Saving and investing are different, right? Wouldn't you guys agree? Or
Yeah, I mean, it makes me think of the I think it was Warren Buffett that has the saying that it goes, it's not about timing the market, it's about time in the market. The longer that you have money sitting and working for you is where you really, see the biggest difference. And it talks about it later in the book. We can talk about those chapters when we get to those, but he actually talks about Warren Buffett, Munger, all these kind of guys, and how basically because Buffett started so young and invested, that's where his compounding stuff came from. Just real quick, if anybody is watching this, isn't a part of the community of Order of Pillars,
Subscribe.
Yeah, right. In the finance
You're
pillar,
done.
yeah, right, wherever it's at.
Over there.
Somewhere.
The finance
Wherever it is.
It's designed in a particular way so that you start off with baby steps, and it starts off with just saving $100. The thing it's stepping up to is to having a minimum of 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses saved, and after that it starts getting into investing and how to grow the wealth, because like we said, right, you gotta save, have the mindset of future benefits, and by having that 3 to 6 months, that's going to relieve a huge amount of stress that most people have never gotten to, and then it'll give you that breathing room to say, okay, now I can go ahead and put in 20-30% of my income into investments, and then it opens up a whole Pandora's box of what investments, how, when, all these different questions that, again, I love geeking out on. And hopefully anybody who is in the community can start following that and then get to that point where they have a certain amount of freedom, financial freedom, that most people will never get to.
Okay. And I think all of us are more or less the same age. More, I assume.
No, you're far older. You're an old guy.
Oh no.
I definitely look.
How old are you?
I am 41.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't look 41, but
Yeah.
No, you don't look 41.
I mean, you're not in high def over here, so I should be honest about that. But I got a good voice. Don't.
I'm already 39, on my way to 40. But I don't feel it. That's the great part.
Yeah, well, they say that you never feel it really. Like you'll be 80 and you'll still kind of in your head you'll be like, I'm
Oh
30.
no, my late 20s, I felt like I was 40. But now that I'm in my almost 40, I feel like I'm in my 20s again. It's all about your health and the way you treat your body. So it really makes a huge difference. But yeah,
Is
you
that what-
definitely don't look 40.
Thank you. That's what Botox does.
Show us your
Yeah, my rear end.
Like,
No, 'cause I was just gonna ask, like, what was? Yeah, we're more or less the same age, 2, 3, 4, 5 years apart or so.
yeah, I'm 38.
But
Sorry, I didn't answer you, but I'm 38.
38, yeah. So we're the baby of the group, and but how would
The oldest.
your
Most-
upbringing have shaped the way you view money? Like, how
Oh,
do
my
you see
upbringing. Oh,
money?
are you asking me specifically?
Well, like anybody and
Okay.
everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I could tell you, I have major trust issues, because of my upbringing, right? Like, I won't get into the details, but I know that it affects like that trauma that I've dealt with growing older, like not having a sense of security, right? Inadequacy will lead me to do stupid things, to like try to make up for things that I don't even really need to make up for, right? Vanity is a big thing. Because it's like, it's that keeping up with the Joneses, which unfortunately, like the culture really pushes on us. And that's, we can't sit there and use it as an excuse, but it definitely doesn't make it any easier. Um, so, with that being like an American brat, which, you kind of grow up and you realize, because even I, like my parents didn't have like money or anything, but we had like support and family and roots here that were able to, you guys know my upbringing, that I had my grandmother and grandparents, and they were basically like the only ones that really kept any type of like
Stable
stability.
lifestyle.
Yeah, because I was like, you guys kind of know, we all kind of grew up together. Nick's really the only one that wasn't too close to the group, but so I find myself making dumb decisions and like being worried, and even putting like worrying about my kids in the same way, and like making them, and then remembering like they don't care. Like I didn't care like when I was young, like I didn't care if we had like I'd be in the crappiest car. I didn't care. So it's like, don't fool yourself and overspend on your kids, which I also am guilty of doing myself, and you fear you're spoiling them because, it's always a possibility. I'm sure I'm trailing off as I usually do. But yeah, I've made a lot of dumb so I've made some good financial decisions, but it's all what comes out in the wash, and we're still here grinding. That's the most part. Stay
Yeah,
in the game. I think.
and a lot of it was dependent on your family dynamic, which is what he was starting with. Like the decisions you've made and what you're trying to grow from really depended on that family dynamic that you had and how money was spent or saved or earned,
It
when you
was
were a kid.
Yeah, and it was secretive actually because my grandfather was the main breadwinner, and I can't tell you. It took me an hour to get out of him how much he actually made, and it wasn't until I was like probably like in my teen years where I like was sitting down with like, "Hey, Grandpa, how much do you make?" But he would never talk about politics, even though he'd get a letter from George Bush like every month, or every year, and put it on the fridge.
I
So it's
remember
like,
that. I remember that.
he would never tell you who he voted for. He would not. He was the most secretive person, and in a way, even as I got older, even as I became an adult, and we had a like even a closer, more adult relationship, and I would ask him like, yeah, like what should I do with my money, Grandpa? Like how should I, should I invest it? He's like, I'm not going to tell you anything. Meanwhile, he's like got 2 homes, and he had, ironically, he had told me he won the most secretive guy. You think the last thing he would tell me is that he won like I think 75 grand in the lottery, which he did in his older age, which I thought was so odd because he was always so, secretive. And then like that's the one thing everybody like talks about, especially him. He was so like patient, secretive. He had a lot of these virtues, but at the same time, he was so secretive. He had secretive life actually that we had
Well,
found out.
he was humble, like super humble, and yeah, something like telling you he didn't not telling anyone he won the lottery would have just been part of his character, like super humility. Like he had didn't matter what you knew what he was worth or whatever. He'd barely even talk to people anyway. Just smile at you and talk to you, give you all the knowledge he had if you wanted it, but he didn't tell you what he was worth or where he came from or anything like that. He was just a really humble guy. And I think
Oh yeah,
that's spoke to his character, and the way he treated money was very nonchalant. Didn't matter how much money he had. He was going to keep going to school, learning things. He did what he wanted to with the money, but the money, whatever it was there, you know?
but those boomers, man, they did have a kind of lot of privileges.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
My dad was secretive with money. Even today, I have no idea I can guess that he's got over a mill, but I don't know what he's got. He's just always been secretive about it and said, "Hey, I'm taken care of. Don't worry about it. I plan for my future. Don't worry about it. I'll be fine in retirement. Don't worry about it." And then he just sold his house for $500,000, and he's like, "Nah, I bought another one. I'm not worried about it." I'm like, how much money do you need? Like,
Now,
stop
What
saving money.
what
Like go spend it somehow. Like do something with it. Like go. Have fun. But
question
I have no idea how much he's worth. He's just too secretive.
both of y'all had upbringing where they were reluctant to talk about that, reluctant to kind of open about, share, teach, I think, up to a point. How did that change your thinking and how you're going to react with your kids and their upbringing?
I think if anything, it gave me a sense of fearlessness when it came to monetary, like a monetary fearlessness. So if at any given time I think I'm in dire straits, I think about the end game is I've got years to go, and the rest of my other members of my family have figured this out, and they've gotten to the point where they're extremely comfortable, and they went through these same dire straits. So I think if anything, it gives you a comfort pillow. Like it gives you kind of a comfort in your head that it's possible. You know what I mean? You don't have to live at the bare edge of your means.
But I'm more curious on, are you have talked to, are going to talk to your kids about saving, investing, right? Like what to do with their money, the mistakes that we've made so far so that they don't remake them?
Yeah, yeah. So my youngest daughter, my older daughter is not listening to that, but tried. My younger daughter's doing great. She wanted to buy a pair of roller skates, and she had enough money to buy them, and she's like, "No, I'm not buying them yet. I'm waiting till I have at least double that, so that when I buy my skates, I still have money saved up because you said I should have savings. I should have something to back it up. I should never make myself broke just to buy something." I barely told her that once or twice. And that's already her mentality at 8 years old. Like, she's getting it. She's getting
Winning
some of those
mentality.
clues.
Yeah.
The more we talk about it, the better.
Yeah.
And they're sponges right now. So the more you tell them while they're this young, the more they're gonna grasp it. Talk about money like it's a real thing, like it really needs to be thought about. And I think now's the time because teaching someone in their teens doesn't help. I'm point in case. My teenager is not learning, but my younger one is a sponge still, and she's getting it. So if you've got those little sponges at home, teach them now. That's the time to really dig in those limericks and those um, the certain verbiage you can to make them really understand that saving is a thing and investing is a thing. If you've got any kind of sayings that you grew up with or sayings that you read, looked up in a book that really wrong with you, now's the time to teach them while they're still sponges. I think is the main thing I could say there.
mean like Uncle Ben's proverb book or whatever? That's
What
the
about
one.
your other two? Nick,
That's
Sean?
where the penny earned came. Oh yeah, dude. I'm always pushing them. Like I make them understand the value of money. Like if they ask me for things, I make them read a book, do a chore. Like they got to earn that shit. And excuse my language. Sorry, YouTube. Love you. Anyways, and then also,
I'll bleep it out.
bro. Sorry. My you should have gave me the warning. No. Okay, so my Ethan, bro, my eldest son, he's like just the most industrious, bro. He's always trying to like flip things on his own. Like I've pushed him and talked to him and told him about, how to, sell things and, you should get more than what it's worth if you get something in trading Pokemon cards and all that stuff's kind of talking about value and rarity and all that fun stuff. And he's just always like thinking of these ways to make like trying to make lemonade stands and stuff. And I tell him, save your money. He's actually worse at the saving part, but he's good at like the coming up with the creative ways to make money thing idea, which he's like the entrepreneur, right? He could create the business. But my youngest dude, he will not spend his money. Dude. He like saved up ever the last like year and a half, like all the birthdays, Christmas thing. He's like, Dad, I got $100. Will you give me $100 bill? And I'm like, what the fuck? This 4-year-old kid is like listening to me. Because I'm always telling him, like, save your money, guys. You got to save your money, right? Because I don't want them to suffer. And I don't know if you guys heard, but Tim Pool was like on Roseanne recently, and he's talking about, a lot of people talk about the population collapse and how that generation Alpha, it might be really difficult for them because they don't have like a labor force to fill in the gap. It's going to be like half the amount of people, and half, and you have twice the amount of businesses that can fulfill half the amount of people's needs. Half the businesses are going to go out, and they're going to split. People are going to dedicate their time to each, and then it's just going to. The end of the story is it might be really rough for these Alpha generation if we don't like prepare them, right? Because it could be even worse. Because the boomers had it pretty darn good. It's that homage, strong men, weak men thing. I can't ever remember it, but
yeah, strong men make strong, or what is it? I know exactly what you're talking about. I just said it the other day. It's strong men make good times. Good times make weak men. Weak men make hard times. Hard times make strong men, and it's a cyclical thing.
Yeah. So on chapter 1, just the title, No One's Crazy, and each person makes their own decisions. What's your take on just that basic idea? Do you think people are crazy for certain choices, or is it just trying to understand why you make certain choices and then overcome it, or what's your opinions?
So if you think about Sean's two and exactly what they were, one of them is good at making money, but probably wants to spend it a lot. The other one is good at saving money, but maybe he doesn't make it as quick. Now, those two schools of thought are both okay in the scheme of life. If you make plenty of money, you can spend plenty of money. Saving it is great too. However, if you're making enough that you can still save some and squander a bunch because you're making it so fast, that's a great decision. But now, if you're somebody that doesn't make enough and you're good at saving, well, now you can use that savings to then make investments. So either one of those schools of thought would work, in the long run. It depends on
So
the person.
I would push back on that simply because, again, in the book, he talks about how that one guy, he made a part for Wi-Fi connections and stuff, and he was incredibly spendful on it, right? He walked around with a brick of money on him. He had, at some point given a couple $1,000s to one of the guys to go and buy a stack of gold coins, and then him and his buddies went and skipped it. Which, by the way, we need to find some autistic guy to find the year, the hotel, the dock, the distance that an average man can throw at that.
And then go just dive down and get them. Yeah.
Gold coin. But I think it was actually showing something that that pushes back to like what you were saying, right? It's, you can make a ton of money, but if you don't know how to use it, if you don't know how to save it, if you don't know how to invest it and grow it, you can clearly outspend your earnings, right? And there's a study, I forget the name of it or whatever, but it was basically showing how a large percentage of people who make 6 figures or more actually still live paycheck to paycheck, just like a regular Joe Schmo, and it's because they're living outside of their means. So
Yeah.
I would sooner say it's more important to save your money than to be able to make more of it. And again, the story of the janitor, like Sean was bringing up, this janitor guy, he was a regular Joe Schmo, never made tons of money or whatever, but he put money away. He saved. I do think a certain point of it was you just happened to buy into some blue chip stocks, and that's what made you probably the vast majority of your money. But I mean, that's where I lie on it, right? I would sooner say it's not so much what you make, it's what you save.
The
But you
recipe is
mentioned to live below your means, though. Wouldn't that be two different things? Saving and living below your means. Those are like two separate things.
Well, I mean, if you're saving, so if you are making a certain amount but saving a percentage, you're living below your means regardless.
If repeat that idea again.
So if you make, just for simple numbers, if you make say $100 a week and you're able to save $25 of that $100, you put it into your savings, you throw it under your mattress, whatever you do. Well, the way I completely disagree with, you should be putting it in a high yield savings account, but regardless, um, but it's that automatically makes you live below your means, right? Most people think
Yeah,
I make
your
$100.
means is $100 and you're living off of $75.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to play the devil's advocate on that, say I'm just going to throw this out there. Say I'm an awesome salesman at something, and I know that I'm an awesome salesman. I have been for 10 years, and I can sell, ketchup popsicles to a woman in white gloves, or ice to an Eskimo, and I make six figures a year, no problem. I've always have. Some years it's millions, and it really depends. It depends on my drive that year, how much I want to sell, because I'm a great salesman. So now I know how to make money. Now I flaunder money. Yeah, I mess around. I don't save as much as I should, but I put a little bit, aside. Now that guy, if that's me, now I've got a problem with spending money, obviously. I'm spending it. But at the same time, I'm more skilled at getting the money and I can get money quicker than the guy who's been saving this whole time. So the guy who's saving this whole time, maybe he's saved, it's been a few years, he's up at $100,000. I'm like, whoop de doo, give me 1 month. And I save, $200,000 in that 1 month. I go, now I'm just going to save it, put that in savings. I outbeat this guy's, 5 years of savings and I did it in 2 months. You know, who's the better off? All it takes is that one discussion to get that guy to start saving his money because he's better at making it.
So
You know what I mean? So what mindset of making money faster, and I understand the saving money is the end goal. You got to save the money. But
So
people
I
who are
would
better at
say-
making it, I think.
I would say the adage of don't count your chickens before they hatch, right? You might be an excellent salesman, right? You might be perfect at it, and you have a horrible spending problem, right? You could get horribly big in debt and then, okay, I'm just going to stop spending for a couple months and then be able to pay it off, no issue. But that's assuming you're always going to have good health. That's assuming that, you're not going to have something happen. The economy could crash.
Yeah.
Your sales industry itself could go completely kaput. So you're assuming you will always have the opportunity, but again, you're kind of betting on something as opposed to having a guaranteed. Okay, so a simple rule of thumb that I tell everybody is you should try to do a 50-30-20 budgeting plan, right? So 20% of that should be going towards your savings. 30% should be going towards oh no, I'm sorry, backwards. 30% should be going towards your investments and stuff. 20% should be going towards your fun kind of deal, and 50% should be going to your living expenses, your needs. So in that, you would be automatically putting stuff away, still having some fun with it, and knowing that your core is being taken care of at all times.
So you think the end game is really that there's just a finite percentage you could basically split every check you ever earn into this percentage, you know, category wise, and that's your best bet. You think there's like a specific mathematical
So yes and no. Anybody that's watched any videos that we've talked, Nikki, it's always yes and no with me.
Yeah, it's you'd never get a straight answer.
wishy-washy, wishy-washy.
But I think to go abstract, you could have an ideal, right? And that's your budget, right? Your 50-30-20 plan. But something comes up this month, you have to dive a little bit further into one of your, your wants or your needs or your savings rather. But you're still well taken care of because, say 10 months out of your 12 months, you followed as strictly as possible to this budget. So again, that's why I pushed so hard when I was like, well, nobody's crazy. Everybody's fake. It's like, well, no, there is a right way and a wrong way of handling your money. And I think if you think about it in a logical sense, and he talks about emotions, then yeah, you shouldn't let your emotions get the best of you. And that includes pride, right? Your pride to think like, I can make this. This is not a big deal. But you don't know what's coming down the pipe.
But you did mention like a lot of things. There are a lot of variables there. You mentioned health, you mentioned economy, you mentioned business going down. So, kind of pushing into the second chapter, there's a lot of luck in that as well. There's a lot of, you could become a millionaire because you are a super saver and you invested in the best things, and the next day you die. Like, well, or you could splurge and live to be 95, just splurging your money and just going crazy, and you just lived it up. So there's so many variables there, and it's kind of like, it's very nuanced.
So is that what the second chapter is more? Again, I'm sorry, I'm not caught up. I haven't gotten through the second chapter. So is that more what it's about? Is about the fact that there's like a luck factor to this whole thing, and you can prepare all you want, but there are some outliers that just, there's misnomers that will either gain someone a lot of money or cost them a lot of money and kind of ruin those sort of plans or ideals that you think your budgetary strictness is getting you.
Yes. Actually, if Sean wants to take off, he seemed to have had a really good grasp on the Bill Gates story in with regards to the luck and the risk situation. Bill Gates got to his wealth. I would say definitely a big portion of luck, but Sean, if you wanted to dive further into that story.
I mean, I don't know if it's a lot of luck either. It might be half mostly. Because think about it, Bill Gates is already from a prominent family. His father was like a lawyer, an investor already, like a venture capitalist, something like that. So he's already in a very high class area, which already brings the odds of him getting access to these advanced tools and money and resources that give them ability to get those tools, which was just a bunch of mothers of children that go to like a fancy school, right? Got $3,000 to give the rummage sale. So like, yeah, there's luck there, obviously, right? But it's also like some of it. I mean, a lot of it was, and I don't want to. It's not to degrade his father, because there's the perspiration, the 99% perspiration thing. Like his father had to work to put him in that scenario where his luck increased. So again, it's just a lot of variables. It's a lot of like, it's always given. What do you call it? To and fro from each side. It's always like a chimera of the previous event before. So that one, it's just silly. I really think just Bill Gates paid them to have his name in there to make him sound good. Like,
Yeah.
But yeah, knowing that Bill Gates story a little bit, so like you were saying, it's luck because he obviously stole it or whatever, not stole it, but stole it from someone that was like-minded. But if he wasn't in that circle already because of his position in life and his parents' position in life, would he have even been able to think of something like that? Would he have even been, privy to what was going on in the computer world or the future computer world at that point?
So, in chapter 2, he talks about Bill Gates's luck in being in a school, one of the only schools that had a computer at that time. How it was,
down to the numbers. Sorry.
No, you get donated or whatever to the school, and then I guess the thing they were trying to show was Bill Gates at that time had a good friend. Totally forget his name, but there was another gentleman.
I was going to say Kent Evans, I think it was.
I think you're right. Something like that. But so he was the same age, had the same knowledge, the same forethought to try to do everything else. And he died in some kind of a mountaineering accident or some.
Yeah, that was Kent Evans. Yeah.
Yeah. So he died. He was the same age, went to the same school, was doing the same programming and stuff, but just out of circumstance, he died. and then Bill Gates continued to move forward, and so
They were
that
in-
shows life being a risk and luck kind of deal.
Gotcha. So it's really focusing on the fact that there could be it in, it's really is the second chapter basically about luck, and how that
It's
plays into.
basically putting on a balance, we could say. So I mean, the question would be the question I pose to you guys is like, if you were to give it a percentage, a number, how much would luck play into financial success? 2%?
2%. Yeah, I'd say 2%.
I thought you were leaving. I was like,
No, I will be leaving soon, but no, I would say 2%.
No, I don't know how I would put a percentage on it. I do think it's a low percentage. So again, while I was listening to this book, my instant thinking was, well, we were all lucky in one
I
sense.
actually do have to go. Bye,
No,
guys.
okay,
either,
2%.
Hey.
yeah.
but yeah, it was we were all lucky in a certain aspect because we were born in the United States, right? We are using the US dollar, which is the strongest currency. We are speaking English, which is the main language that's being used.
Supposedly top 1% on the globe.
Yeah. And so I think automatically we do have a certain amount of luck, but even with that level of luck, there are choices that are made that help people get ahead or fall behind. So while I agree that luck plays a factor, Bill Gates, as an example, he went to the school, he had the computer, but we can't negate the fact that he had the interest and the dedication to learn computers, to eventually build his way up and then have the business acumen to go and buy DOS from this guy that helped him, be this huge person that he is today. So luck, yes, plays a factor, but I don't think it's as big as the book is trying to say.
But why not?
Because
Like, why
like
do
I
you think most people, successful or not, have an issue attributing their success to luck? Like they refuse it. Do you think it's just to encourage the rest of men out there or people in general to kind of like go for their dreams despite everything? Because otherwise, if you say, luck is like 50%, maybe most people will hear that and say, well, I might as well not even try.
got anything, Sean?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I was looking at the quote, like it's 99% perspiration, 1% inspiration. Like maybe that's what luck is, right? Because I do think it's less than 50%. I agree. I misspoke when I said it. Like maybe just the I think the Bill Gates scenario may be a little different, right? Because each scenario is going to be a different percentage of whatever this magical thing we call luck is, and the remainder will always be the perspiration, and you'll even find those. I'm sure you'll find those, exceptions to the rule, where like people were just 99% lucky and they only did 1% of the work, right? A lot less of those, because it's a numbers game, just like sales. Life in itself and success. You keep, the more you grind and the more work you do, you're increasing your chances of finding success, turning over every stone, blah blah blah, right? So you do got to work for it. You're not going to get it for free all the time, and if you do, you shouldn't squander it. That's for sure.
I think we'd have to be like a little bit more specific with what success means, because
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
success is different for everybody, of course. So, of course, if success for you is just, putting food on the table, you don't need much luck for that, do you? So let's say you want to hit $10 million sometime. You want to hit those $10 million. You actually think that if you give it your all, you sacrifice everything, you do everything you can to achieve it, you will achieve it? like anybody can achieve it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would be willing to, at least in the States. Um, I think it becomes harder, again, depending on geographic location. For instance, I would imagine it's exponentially harder if you are born in a straw hut in the middle of the freaking, African savannah. Like your odds of trying to get to that 10 million is way harder than if you're even just a middle class kid in the States. So luck definitely plays a factor in it, but I mean, how many people are just completely lucky and win the lottery and have 10, 20, 30 million dollars, and then within 4 years time they're poor again?
It's like most of them, right?
Yeah,
Isn't there
it's
like
a
a
vast
documentary
majority.
on it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you have people that like actually like it changes the people around you.
Yeah.
There's that whole aspect.
So by that demeanor, well then that would mean most people who want $10 million don't have it because they are lazy, doing the wrong things, lack of education, they don't know what to do.
Here's another thing I think of when we think about and we talk about $10 million and whether you're in the States or not, right? Like the perspective of what $10 million is it's simply just a value for a certain amount of security and resources, I'd imagine, right? Like that you got that 10 million idea in your head because that's what it would probably need to suffice in America. But if you're in a third world country, let's say, and you can achieve those same levels of security and resources and it doesn't cost you $10 million and it's kind of equal, right? Like the goal is just to what do they call it? It's the promised land, right? Just that analogy, like whatever your promised land is, and for most people it is, I mean, at the minimum, it's security for your family and hopefully the generations that come after. But again, you like to put a number on it. That's also, I think, a thing you'd have to kind of hash out individually in each scenario, I
Yeah.
guess.
You know, when I was listening to this portion about luck and risk and everything, it was making me think about, like what you said, right? What is being rich or wealthy? That's a very vague term because it means something for everybody else, and it makes me fall back on my faith, which is that at the end of the day, money is money. It is what it is, and whether you have a lot or a little, we're wealthy in so many ways, right? We have a roof over our head, we have food in a fridge, we have children, we have good health, we have friends, et cetera, et cetera. And we're not supposed to be focusing so much on building wealth in this world, but building our wealth in heaven. And I think that's where the happiness portion comes in, right? There's a lot of super wealthy people, movie stars, famous, etc., who are miserable. And it's not the money or the fame that gives them that happiness. And yet you find a Mother Teresa or somebody who doesn't have anything and is incredibly happy. So I think the wealth that we should be focusing on, by all means, focus on trying to make money, but not being the ultimate goal.
So you don't agree with the adagent that says, I'd rather be depressed in, a Lamborghini than on the bus?
Well, I have heard, what is it? It's a joke that's like, look, it's hard to be poor. Or it's hard to be sad when you're on a jet ski or something like that.
They say money doesn't buy happiness, but try not smiling on a jet ski.
Yeah,
Somewhat.
exactly. Don't get me wrong. If I had to choose, I would prefer to have some money.
Exactly. So
Well, it is.
moral. Yeah, go ahead, sir.
No, it's tying back to like the promised land thing. It's funny. I was thinking that same thought today. It's like, if you even if you collect, and even like you were saying, Nick, if you die early, as long as you remain virtuous and you're doing what's right and then you aim towards the highest goal, you know, then you still win. You are wealthy, right? Because that should be, again, you know, that you're, because really success, the way I've always looked, and I wrote an essay about it once, is like is your legacy, right? And that may even tie into what your you know, your eternal life is afterwards. I mean, I'm sure it does, you know, obviously, if there is that extra afterlife, which I believe there is, you know, your legacy is tied to that. That is your legacy, because it's also like, even the Jews, like I've learned how they, like, part of the way that their afterlife is you're remembered by the people after you, and that your legacy is kind of what keeps you living on. And the stronger and better your legacy is, and the more people like speak well of you as you pass, it's a testament to, like, you know, your behavior, as we tie it back to like the book, right? So the behaviors, it's hard to manage our behaviors and make good choices.
Here.
But we got
Well said. I don't know if you had anything else, Lil B, to add on
could
to
talk.
it.
No. I mean, I look forward to rereading the next friggin' 4, 5, 6, etc. I was curious if y'all thought 2 chapters was.
Oh, you took the words right out of my mouth. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty short.
But
Ain't too short.
yeah, I feel we went through the first 2 chapters. Me personally, I feel I went through, like I said, I've read the first 2 chapters or listened to them so many times now. I've already started on 4, 5, 6, and 7. So should we expand this
We
to
can skip 3.
Yeah.
I'm just messing. So,
Do
so 4.
I don't know. How about like 5 chapters at a time? Even though we already went into 2.
So the next 3 chapters or 5 total after this?
I don't know. It's up to you guys, but
It also
we could
depends
do,
on the
like,
size of the, like, what if the chapter is really long.
So these books chapters are actually pretty small.
All of them. Okay.
Yeah. The audio book is in its entirety. I think it's like an hour and 10, an hour and 20 minutes. So
It said like 4 hours.
yeah, I mean, we can do like 5 chapters at a time. So from here on in, 5 chapters. So the next one should be up to chapter 8. I think.
Yeah.
Am I 7? So we should be. Yeah, we should be doing chapters 3 to 7, I believe, if we
Yeah.
do 5.
And
Because otherwise, we're going to be on the same book for like 2 months.
yeah. Well, that I find it interesting on 2 fronts. One is, yeah, if they're 2 chapters at a time, 1 book, we're going to be on it for an extended amount of time. The other thing, as I found from this first call, we deviate, but it's still on topic, but it's not so much about the chapters themselves. So if we were to read more chapters, we would have a bigger range of what to talk about that still stays relevant. And, you know, we'd have more, I guess, info to talk about.
Did you
Yeah,
send like an
man.
outline? Maybe we could like send like an outline or like an agenda for the call, you know, so we do kind of stay on track. And if we all have it in front of us, we don't even have to address it like for video's sake, so we don't, like, you know, have to edit out stuff. Maybe like this point right here. But you can you know, you set an outline so we're all kind of like staying on the same pace, and we know like once somebody changes subject, we know to kind of stay on that subject or whatnot. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually a good idea. I could make like a bullet point type of simple minimalistic presentation for next time on the chapters.
So like a slide or something where we just
like kind of like the
Even like that.
roundtable thing that we do, like a presentation type thing, but just like a single image, bullet points, like A, B, C, D, and that covers. At least we have like a visual idea of what we have to go over and not deviate too much.
I think
So 5 chapters or 3, 2, 4, 5, 10. What do you guys want?
I'm down for 5.
I'll do whatever. Yeah, I'll do 5.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go 5 chapters. Let's see. How many chapters does this book have in total? You know?
20, I believe.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So yeah, let's definitely at least do 5 at a time. Okay.
Yeah, because the Psychology of Money YouTube video I see is 4 hours long. Are you listening to like 4 times the speed?
4 hours? Let me check real quick.
I hope. I mean, it is the same book because it's the same little kid yelling at me.
Yeah, actually, it is 4 hours. 4 hours and 16 minutes.
Yeah, well, if you're gonna get into it like your third or fourth time, you may even want to consider going like time and a half with it if you already kind of get it in. You know, sometimes I do that to speed up like an audio podcast or book. I'll go like 1 1/4, 1.5, and you actually find yourself you're still able to comprehend it. And you're like, wow, I can still hear this.
I'm a genius.
Until you have to rewind it a little bit. Like that's too fast. I got to go back. I got to go to 0.5 now.
Yeah, I'm trying to double check real quick how many chapters.
Oh, I want to try something before real quick.
Yeah,
Just
20
tell me.
chapters.
Does this work?
Oh my gosh.
It does. And it sounds like you're a kidnapper.
That's not work too. Wait. I just sucked up the helium under the table. All right, I'm done.
Is that like a soundboard you got?
Yeah, it's like this little cheap. It was like $25 at Walmart, dude. A little PA system. I can get like 2 microphones in this thing. I can get I can put on what is this? I wanted to see if the thing would even work. Check 1 2. Look at that. Oh, can you hear the echo now?
Yeah, that's a reverb.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I got some reverb there. So it does work. I wasn't sure if it was going to work in like a meeting setting. I've used it for like making videos and stuff, but I haven't used it for like in like a system.
That's
So I just
awesome.
want to see if the changer worked.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out.
I forgot we did.
It was $25.
It might have been 30, but yeah, dude, it's actually for $30. I mean, it's pretty great. Look, so you can on the back here you get let me see. So this like connects to the computer, so it like has a driver all connected. So like I didn't even have to do much to make sure that my microphone and my headphones are all connected. You can plug 2 headphones in, 3 microphones, a dynamic mic, and 2 I think they're called composite mics or something. The difference, but you'll see like the big mic is like for like the old school mics, you know, like the ones that like they would use like in concerts and stuff. But the one that I'm using and the ones we typically use are these ones, these smaller plugins. So you can do the 2 smalls, you could do a big one if you needed that, and then 2 headphones, and you can do a an input sound, which I didn't mess with, but you can literally like I probably if I had something like loaded up, I could feed in like a background music right now. You know what I mean? Where or you could. I mean, it might be something only a host could do and type of a thing, but you could have like when people come in there in the beginning, have some like classical music, some Vivaldi, if I may request, and you know, Beethoven, something like that, a little something like that.
I would go
Does
with
it come in the Jordan Peterson intro? No, I'm kidding. He'll sue you. I hope he's doing all right.
Yeah, no. So let me. I took some notes there, so we'll do like the presentation. Keep on track there. We're gonna do 5 chapters. So if anybody wants to catch up, yeah, audiobook it because I don't do audio.
Oh yeah, I guess people can like tap in here and just listen to our conversations. Like members can also do that. Like listen to our previous conversation, get caught up on the book and conversation.
Exactly, and they can weigh in if they want or whatever. But yeah, let's do that. So for the next time, it'll be chapters 3 to 7, if I'm not mistaken. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 3 to 7.
Sounds good.
All right, let's do it. I gotta hit the road, Jack, because I got 2 small ones waiting on me to eat pizza. It's my cheat day, my cheat meal of the week.
Boy.
I
All
have
about
a pretty strict diet, so I'm gonna enjoy my 1 cheat meal of the week, pizza. And yeah, I'll hit you guys next Codex Virilis.
Thank you all for coming. Sean, I appreciate you jumping in. Justin, if you're watching this later, I appreciate you jumping in. And any other members, by all means, join in. Hopefully we can get this a lot more lively. I'm sure at some point it'll just be too much and we just have to mute everybody, but we'll see.
Yeah. Either way, it was really fun, really entertaining, And yeah, I learned a lot of people's perspectives on money and luck. And yeah, so I'll end it here, and I'll see you guys in 7 days. 7 days. Peace.